when did you decide that the team was the right model for you? And when you made that decision, that it was the right time for you?
So because of short sales, I had to do that fairly soon. So really my second year in the business, I had an admin because there was no way I could handle that level of, just paperwork and stuff like that without having an admin.
Yeah.
So I've had an admin since my second year in the business. And then from there, I started to get investor calls. So I couldn't do the paperwork, couldn't call the banks and run around and show the houses. So I had to get a buyer's agent. So I did everything the way you're probably not supposed to do it. Because you really should have 2 admins before you hire your buyer's agent, and you should have your systems and your processes and everything together before you have your buyer's agent. And I did not do that because I just had more business than what I could figure out.
Yeah, it was almost survival, right?
Yeah.
At that point, you're kind of just, I always relate to our business as a bucket, right? And you plug one hole and another one's created, and then you go plug that one. And so, it's just kind of how it is at sometimes. But you mentioned 2 admin before a buyer's agent. I'm curious of why you believe that, and if you still believe that, because back then we were still faxing offers. So I could see all of the pain of the paperwork and all that. I'm one in today's market, today's world with technology, that could you get away with potentially having a showing agent or a buyer's agent first, because our time commitment to paperwork is a lot less these days, if that makes sense. I'm not talking about the other admin duties like uploading listings and all of that stuff, but strictly writing offers, presenting counter offers, getting listing paperwork signed, all of those things. I'm curious, the 2 admin thing, because I think you're the first agent that I've spoken to that have really said 2 admin before that first buyer's agent. Was that mostly because you were listing side heavy, where most agents are mostly buy side heavy?
So first of all, I'm KW through and through, right? So that is what the MREA tells us we should do. So the way I think you should, especially when you're growing a team, you're going to have an admin who's going to do your transactions. So you need someone who's going to do all the transactions, contract to close, do all the paperwork, all that kind of stuff. And then you also need another admin who's, handling marketing, handling our, just client communications, just different things like that. Yeah. So can you get a buyer's agent before? Yes, you can get a buyer's agent. But the thing is, if you're looking to keep a buyer's agent, once that buyer's agent starts to do transactions and they start to be self-sufficient, what are you offering them to keep them there? Because at that point, they can go off and do it on their own. So what you're offering them is a support system that when they go out and get a contract, all they have to do is drop it off at the office. It's taken care of, and they can go back out and make some more money. You can't do that unless you have your admin staff in place. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the one thing I love about your story, and where I see, you thrived early on versus where a lot of agents struggle, is the delegation. You got an admin year 2 in. And really wanted to build a team quickly thereafter because of the needs of the amount of business that you were doing at that level. And that's where I think a lot of agents struggle with growth, with scale, is they feel like they have to touch every aspect of their business instead of putting the right people in place to take that and run with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you sit down and, like, for me, I have a checklist for every process. I have a template. Here's an email template. Here's a text template. Here's everything I want you to do. Now, all you have to do is go follow this checklist. If you can put that in place, you can feel comfortable delegating. You know what I mean? It's hard to not to delegate, because if they have to go figure it out, then they're not going to be you. They're not going to do what you would want them to do. But if you take the time, and for me, I'm a systems person. So you know, I have my checklist, my templates. In this scenario, this is what you send out. In this scenario, this is what you send out. So with that, I can give that to them, and then they can just follow.
It's a game changer. I mean, I always think of it as the pilot, right? Mm-hmm. Every time someone, you know, a pilot goes to fly a plane, they have a checklist, even though they know everything looks good, but they follow the checklist every single time to a T, because if they make one mistake, right, that could be catastrophic for a lot of people on the flight. Same thing with your real estate business. If you're thinking about building a team or taking that next step and bringing on an admin, start documenting that process now. Create those SOPs. One thing I wish I did early on was create videos of how to walk through, you know, CRM, or to write an offer, or Boomtown, or whatever systems you guys are using out there. Because someone should be able, and it should be to the point where it's so detailed that someone should be able to step in and just know what they need to be doing next.
Right.
Right. What's the next step in that order?